You can put on $1,000 suit, say all the right words, and like look like the most respectable person in the entire room, and still be completely devoid of actual honor.
Right, because we so often just equate honor with good manners.
Yeah.
Or politeness,
Yeah, exactly. A physical show of respect, like
Right.
standing up when someone walks in. But the text we are diving into today argues that is just a surface-level performance. Honor isn't about looking respectable to the outside world. It's an internal operating system.
I love that phrase, operating system.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have that installed, well, everything else you do in your spiritual life is just, religious rule following.
It really is. So welcome to this special deep dive. If you are tuning in right now, you are stepping into day 1 of the monthly church-wide fast at Baseline Family Church, and we are here walking right alongside you today.
Yeah, we are.
The mission of this conversation is to explore today's daily devotional, which is entirely focused on this surprisingly weighty, often misunderstood theme of, well, honor.
And honestly, the timing of this topic on day 1 it's entirely intentional.
Oh, for sure.
Because when you begin a fast, the physical hunger sets in almost immediately.
Right.
Your body starts demanding attention. And that physical deprivation is just brilliant. It's stripping away our polite veneer.
Right. The mask comes right off.
Exactly. So the devotional reframes honor not as a performance we put on when we feel good, but as the structural integrity of our character.
Yeah.
The thing that holds us together when we are under pressure, like when we are fasting.
Yeah, it describes true honor as one of the purest expressions of a surrendered heart. It actually defines it as this inward attitude that places God first in literally everything. Decisions, priorities, words, relationships, even like your daily schedule.
Right. Giving him the highest place in your life isn't a one-time event.
Yeah.
It is a continuous lens through which you view reality.
I want to dig into the mechanics of that a bit. The devotional draws on the insights of a few key leaders, John Bevere, Rick Warren, and Craig Groeschel, to build this case.
Yeah, it really weaves their thoughts together beautifully.
It does. It doesn't just list their quotes. It builds a single argument about human nature. The core premise seems to be that our actions are just lagging indicators of what we truly value internally.
That is exactly the psychological and spiritual reality the text is pointing to.
Yeah.
Like the devotional notes, John Bevere's point that honor creates access. It opens a person's life to God's voice and direction.
Wow, okay.
And then it brings in Rick Warren, who argues that every genuine act of obedience actually begins with a heart that honors God. And Groeschel ties it all together by saying, honor is a direct reflection of what we truly value.
Okay, I have to jump in here, though, because I struggle a bit with this concept of obedience.
How so?
Well, I mean, I can be incredibly obedient, right? I can check all the boxes, serve at church, do the right things, but internally I might be grumbling the entire time, especially on a fast.
Oh, definitely.
When I'm hungry and, let's be honest, irritable. So is the text saying my outward obedience is actually kind of worthless without that specific internal posture?
Well, the devotional draws a pretty hard line here between compliance and surrender.
Okay, compliance versus surrender.
Yeah. Compliance is just doing what you are told because you fear punishment or maybe you want a reward. It's entirely ego-driven.
That makes sense.
But honor, as defined by the text, requires the actual surrender of that ego.
Yeah.
When you drop your ego and prioritize God above your own comfort, you silence your internal noise. Psychologically and spiritually, you tune your brain to actually hear his direction.
So that is the access Bevere is talking about.
Exactly. If you are just complying while grumbling on the inside, your internal noise is still deafening. You are completely blocked off from the transformation God actually wants to do in you.
So the physical act itself, like, again, standing up when a judge walks into a courtroom, isn't what God is looking for.
No, not at all.
He isn't a human judge demanding a show of respect to, like, validate his authority. He is looking for the internal conditions necessary to build something eternal.
You cannot build a skyscraper on a swamp. Honor is the bedrock. The devotional explicitly states that honor is not about impressing God. It positions your heart so God can trust you. A heart that honors him in the dark when absolutely no one is looking becomes a heart he can use to build his kingdom out in the open.
That is so good. But, an operating system has to actually run programs to be useful. If we claim to have this internal posture of bedrock honor, it's going to crash against reality the second we interact with other human beings.
Oh, inevitably.
And the devotional doesn't let us keep this theoretical. It forces us to look at the external evidence, starting right in our own living rooms.
Yeah, the home.
Yeah.
The home is where we let our guard down. It is often the hardest place to fake that structural integrity we were talking about.
For sure.
The text points directly to marriage and parenting as a primary testing grounds for whether our internal operating system is actually functioning.
Yeah, it says that honoring God in your marriage means actively choosing forgiveness over frustration and humility over pride. But here's the cognitive dissonance for me. I might snap at my spouse because my blood sugar is low from fasting today.
Right, the physical reality kicks in.
Exactly. But the text seems to suggest that my reaction to my spouse is a direct measurement of my honor toward God.
It fundamentally changes the dynamic of any conflict. Because you are no longer just forgiving your spouse for their sake or, just because you want the argument to be over.
Right, to just get some peace and quiet.
Yeah, you are doing it as an active demonstration of your honor to God. The text argues that when God is the true foundation of the home, it turns into a safe place where his presence and his values actually dictate the atmosphere.
And children are incredibly perceptive to that atmosphere. I mean, the devotional mentions that honoring God in parenting means teaching kids that God isn't just an afterthought.
Kids are sponges.
They really are. They don't listen to what we say, they observe what we value. If God only gets the leftover scraps of our schedule, they see exactly what our true operating system is.
And from that foundation in the home, the devotional naturally progresses to the workplace. Which, if the home is where we let our guard down, the workplace is where our character is often tested the most aggressively.
It's the ultimate stress test. It's kind of like a tea bag, right?
Okay, tea bag.
Yeah. You never really know what's actually inside a tea bag until it's dropped in hot water.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
The workplace is that hot water. A demanding boss, impossible deadlines, the pressure to cut corners. That is the heat testing your character. What bleeds out when the pressure is on.
Yeah, the devotional states that honor shapes your workplace through your integrity, your excellence, and how you treat people. But the critical caveat it adds is, especially when no one is watching.
That is the kicker.
Anyone can maintain the appearance of excellence during a performance review. The true test of your structural integrity is how you respond to pressure when the boss is out of town.
Right, or how you speak about leadership in the break room when you think you are totally off the clock.
Yes, and the text makes a massive theological claim regarding this. It states that when your coworkers or your clients see your character hold up in those pressure cooker moments, they are actually seeing the kingdom of God represented.
That is heavy.
It is. Your character becomes the physical lens through which they view a spiritual reality.
Which is incredibly empowering, but also a pretty serious wake-up call for day one of this fast. Like, if I lose my temper at a coworker today just because I skipped breakfast, what exactly am I representing? It brings the whole theoretical concept of honor right down to the pavement.
It proves that honor cannot remain purely internal. If it truly exists in the heart, it will inevitably leak out into how you handle a passive-aggressive email or, like, a stressful commute.
This brings us to a fascinating pivot in the material. We have looked at the private heart, the home, and the secular workplace. And then the devotional bridges all of these spheres into how we engage with our spiritual community. Because if honor revolutionizes how we treat a frustrated spouse or a demanding boss, it absolutely has to completely upend how we function within the church.
Oh, without a doubt. The text lists several highly practical, active ways we demonstrate this: engaging, serving, giving, showing up, and supporting. It's a complete rejection of the consumer mindset that so many people bring to church.
Wait, I do need to push back on a specific tension the text brings up here.
Okay, go for it.
The devotional explicitly mentions honoring leaders, and it says we do this, quote, not because they are perfect, but because you recognize the weight of the calling God placed on them.
Right.
That sounds incredibly risky to me. We live in an era of constant church scandals and toxic leadership environments. Doesn't this definition of honor just, enable bad behavior? Why does the text demand this massive surrender of ego?
That's a really valid question. But the text isn't suggesting blind allegiance to toxicity, nor is it asking you to ignore moral failings.
Okay.
It is proposing a radical shift in your own internal posture. By honoring the calling, you are basically saying, I choose to recognize God's design and placement completely separate from your human limitations. We are so trained by modern culture to endlessly deconstruct authority and just hunt for flaws.
Yeah, that cynicism really fractures communities.
Precisely. It turns everyone into a critic rather than a contributor.
Yeah, a critic rather than a contributor.
The devotional argues that a church filled with this specific kind of honor where people actually choose to see the calling rather than fixating on the flaws, it becomes a strong, unified, unstoppable force for God's kingdom. It requires you to surrender your right to be cynical.
That makes a lot of sense.
When a community isn't constantly tearing itself apart with pride, they can actually move forward together.
That completely shifts the burden. It means my posture of honor is really about my own spiritual health and obedience to God, regardless of the imperfections of the person sitting in the leadership seat.
Exactly. And the devotional grounds this entire philosophy of character transformation in two specific scriptures.
Let's hear them.
The first is 1 Samuel 2, verse 30, which says, those who honor me, I will honor.
So it's almost like a spiritual law of reciprocity.
It is. It's the mechanism of how God interacts with humanity. When you make room for him by prioritizing his values over your own ego, he makes room for you.
Right.
And the second anchor is Proverbs 4, verse 23. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it.
Which really brings this entire deep dive full circle. Everything we just talked about, the patience in your marriage, the integrity in the hot water of your workplace, the unity in your church, it all flows from the hidden internal operating system of your heart.
The text emphasizes that when we honor God in secret, he builds us in ways the world will never understand. Honor makes room for actual transformation. It aligns your heart with heaven, allowing you to endure the pressures of life without fracturing.
So what does this actually look like for you listening right now on day one of this fast at Baseline Family Church? It means bringing all these different spheres together into a singular, practical focus for today.
The devotional provides a highly specific mission for you. As you fast today, your actionable takeaway is to ask the Holy Spirit to reveal any place in your life where honor has weakened, or maybe been replaced by something else entirely.
And that requires brutal honesty. I mean, it means looking at your calendar and doing a real-time audit.
Yeah.
It means examining your frustrations at work. It means looking at the casual, cynical conversations you have with friends and asking, is God taking the highest place here? Or am I just complying with religious rules while my ego runs the show?
To help facilitate that kind of honesty, the devotional includes a beautifully crafted prayer for today. It encourages you to ask the Father to give you a heart that honors him in everything.
I love that.
It is a specific plea to teach you how to honor him in your home, your marriage, your children, your workplace, and your church.
As I fast today, shape my heart into one that honors you and reflects your kingdom. That is the cry of a surrendered heart. It takes off that $1,000 suit of good manners and just invites God to do open heart surgery.
It is the absolute best posture you can adopt on day one. It sets the trajectory for the entire rest of the month.
So as you navigate the rest of day one of this fast, whether you are walking into a stressful meeting, dealing with a toddler meltdown, or just feeling the physical reality of hunger, consider this final thought. The devotional notes that true honor is shown in how you act when absolutely no one is watching. It's that internal bedrock. So if a total stranger could somehow solely observe your private internal reactions to stress or frustration today, like the things you never say out loud, the hidden thoughts you entertain when the pressure spikes, who would they think is actually sitting on the throne of your life?